Well, friends, this topic of happiness and the search of happiness, Swami Kriranandaji used to describe that as a very fundamental aspect of human nature itself. He says everybody in this world is looking for two things. One, he would say, is freedom from pain, and the other, he said, is happiness. They would seek happiness, and it has to be the root of everything that we do. Sometimes I am reminded, again through Swamiji's talks, that if we are in a very bad mood, we don't want to talk to anybody. And looking back, I sometimes see when I was younger, that if I was not in a good mood, I would just quietly go to my room, lock the room, or just say, I'm not going to go out to play. And it's very interesting that even there in the middle of a sad mood or some sorrow, we derive a kind of pleasure which makes us act in that way. And it's like we think that doing that will make me more happy, not speaking to others or whatever, not helping others and such. But Swami Kananda said, once he was in Puri in India, and he was visiting a man who was claimed to be over 125 years old. And Swamiji said that he had certain power and there was something which was working for him. And he said, I thought I could get some wise counsel from him. And he went to him and said, Sir, please, tell me some uh, guidance on how I should be happy, joyful in life. How should I enjoy God's creation? And he says, you shouldn't enjoy anything. And he says, nothing. Puri is a coastal town, for those who may know. He said, not even a beautiful sunset by the ocean. And the man thought, he said, no, nothing. And Swami said, he came back from that meeting. He said, what a dry approach. It would take so much energy for Swami Kriranandaji to not enjoy anything. He said, on the other hand, I thought as I was walking back that my guru taught you can enjoy everything with God's presence, with God. You can share it with Him, with God's joy. At the same time, Swamiji was once asked by somebody why he created Ananda, which means joy. And Swami says, to have fun. And then he says, he looked at this person very deeply and he says, but you have to understand what kind of fun I'm talking about. And that is where we need truly sage counsel, and our gurus come to help, because Master clearly mentioned, he says there are octaves of happiness. He says everybody wants to be happy, but why is it that so many times they're not able to find it? I personally, being a doctor, I sometimes in the hospital see this, when somebody's at the end of life, people come, they meet them, it makes them happy, but I see a very strong underlying current in many people's eyes of sadness. And I wonder, because I don't want to be pulled into it, I wonder, didn't you know? Didn't you think about this? Even if it's coming in its natural time, as a young person, and maybe because I'm a doctor and I've seen so much of this, I think about it. I remember once I was in emergency and I examined a patient who was very critical, and I called the operation theater. I said, keep the theater ready, we are bringing in somebody. By the time I went to the desk to make his papers, my chief medical officer said, he says, there's no need to make the paper. I said, why? He says, the person's not there anymore. And I couldn't believe it. I turned around and the person was not breathing, and I kind of sighed and I was just wondering. And he says, get a tea for sir, he told the nursing staff. And then he came to me, he says, it happens. When you've lived 35 years in the emergency like me, Aditya, you won't mind, you won't be sad at these events. And as much as he was my super senior, I looked at him and I said, sir, I don't need 35 years. One life is enough, or one death is enough for me. And I was not sad by the fact that somebody left. I knew that's the reality of life. I was wondering in what state he left. There was nobody next to him. I was the last person he spoke to. And I was wondering that there has to be a better way to close such an important, the most important chapter of our life. And those are the questions, Paramahansa Yoganandaji's guru, Sri Yukteswar, would often, it's very interesting, this spiritual path. We talk of joy. Joy is our very nature, Swamiji says in that affirmation. God made us out of joy, but if we don't know how to have fun in the proper way, it can end up in everything else but joy and happiness. And Sri Yukteswar had this chant which he would sing to wake up the monks from their physical slumber or spiritual, and it was like this: O my saint, wake yet wake, O my saint. You did not meditate, you did not concentrate, and passed thy time in idle words. O my saint, wake yet wake. Death will be at thy door, and you may not have time any more to redeem thy soul. O my saint, wake yet wake. What beauty, what poetic expression to convey the strongest message in the most sweet and encouraging way, that we are responsible. Swami Karanda used to say that he was responsible for the event called Kriyananda. And he says, I'm not attached to that event, but I understand the responsibility I have towards it. And I think that's all we have to do. When we think of fun, normally if you see happiness, for most people, goes back and forth. We try to be happy, we attain the state of happiness. You can imagine a child when he's got a new football and he's so happy, and then by the time he comes home, he sees, oh, there's mud all over, so he may clean the ball and try to keep it new. And I think I'm thinking of the football because it happened with me. I pleaded my mom one day as a kid to buy me a football, and the moment I got it, I came out of school, I was thinking of playing with it, and I took it down, and one other friend of mine, he says, hey, show me your ball. And I gave it to him, and he kicked it so high, it landed in a bush of thorns, which was it was a tree of thorns, and the ball was stuck. And he says, oh, your ball is stuck. And I said, you put it over there, you should get it. And he says, oh, I'm so sorry, your ball is stuck, and he left. And then I went and my ball was punctured, and I just thought, and of late I think, is that how transitory happiness is? It was there when the ball was all good and tight, and it got deflated, and I was sad, I had to go back home. I must have done something else to replace my happiness. But then Yoganandaji said, don't confuse happiness and pleasure with the higher possibilities and potentials that await us. These glimpses of happiness through a football, through good food, through sympathy of friends, through money, lottery, XYZ, so many things. I think in this world, practically half the things are created to give us happiness, and yogic teachings say the other half are designed to take it away. And I have a small experience about that too. I was once going to school as in primary school, and somebody cracked a joke, and we all were laughing, but I was laughing the loudest. And then I noticed that everybody had stopped, but I was still enjoying the joke, and I was laughing till one of my friends, she turned toward me and she said, close your mouth, please close your mouth. And she says, I said, why? And I was still laughing, and she says, because to the degree you're laughing right now, you may cry in school. And then I tried to close my mouth, and sure enough, I reached the school. The very first period, as we call it in India, our teacher came and she says, good morning everybody, please submit your homework from Saturday. And I had forgotten all about it. I had not put it in my diary to remember. And I said, oh my God, she will again think I'm lazy by homework. And minutes later, I was an outstanding student for that classroom. And I was thinking that day, standing outside, did it really have something to do with what my friend said? Now I can tell you, Yoganandaji said, life is a game which has to be played with an adventurous spirit and with non-attachment. Then you can have fun, then you can enjoy, then you can see that all these things are designed to arouse something much deeper than happiness itself. Happiness is a good starting point, certainly, absolutely good starting point. And today I wanted to touch on two basic attitudes which can bring a lot of happiness in our life. It can simplify our worry. Then we don't have to think whether I should laugh at a joke or worry about the small life of my football. Well, the things are these. Swami Kriyananda said, include other people's happiness in your own. And then he would say, to find the highest happiness, he said, he is happiest who gives everything to God. In that regard, Paramahansa Yoganandaji guided us. He says, happiness is a starting point along with pleasure. And then he says, if you can remain even-minded in the midst of the challenges of life and put out the energy to overcome them, he says you will start feeling more and more uninterrupted joy. And that will become an underlying reality of your nature, which Swamiji was saying, our nature is made of joy. How do we attain that nature? When we read autobiography of a yogi, when we meet a saint, when we study the life of somebody, through their autobiography who has accomplished a state similar to that, we get a lot of encouragement and proof in that direction. And Swami Kirananda would say that an easy life is certainly not a victorious life. Paramahansa Yogananda ji said that a disciplined mind and life is a happy mind, brings a very happy life. And discipline has to be again understood in the right way. When we begin on the path of seeking happiness in life, we all naturally think that I'll be happiest if everything comes to me. Good clothes, toys, everyone's attention, their concern, everybody takes care of me, I'll be happy. Well, we will be happy for quite a while till we start thinking, what about the happiness of those who are tending to me? And that's where in ancient India this whole system, caste system, was created, which is such a beautiful system because it gives and shows the possibility for every human being, no matter who he or she is, to attain the highest possible happiness for themselves. And this system starts on a level called Shudra consciousness. A Shudra is a person who likes to attract, who is lazy, who doesn't want to work for anything, and he wishes too much and he wishes things come to him. And such a person, as you can imagine, will be happy sometimes, and most of the times he's still wishing for things and he's not happy. He's certainly not serving other people. He's not going out of his way to make things better for himself or other people. And the scriptures say such a person, high hopes, of happiness he has. You have to go through. Yogananda said, suffering of realizing that this attention, calling of attention to oneself is not going to give you happiness. In time, people will realize, oh my God, whenever I go to this person, he's always complaining. He always has something negative to say about life, and he's bringing everybody's spirits down. So such a person is wishing for happiness, but he doesn't even have the energy to attain a shimmer of it. Then Yogananda ji said the next step that we all go through is the Vaishya consciousness, where one realizes, if I use my mind, if I do something, maybe I can get people to work for me, maybe I can exchange this thing for that, and it brings ever newness in their life and keeps them busy that way. And you can imagine a businessman like that. He's creating a project, a product, and people like it, and he's always busy that way. And today our world is like that. If it is not this, let me try that. If it's not this, when this ceases, I will try that. And we try to keep our nerves under a constant stimulation to achieve that kind of happiness, which again takes us bobbing up and down, up and down. And Swami Kirananda would say that once he saw this television on air where all these young people were jumping very much, and he was excited, he was intrigued to see what they're jumping for. And then came this big soap bar, and it said, a new soap has been launched, and they were so happy. He said, any intelligent person can see there is no reason to be so happy about a soap bar and or a chocolate or anything. But that is where the marketing was, and it was expressing that you'll find happiness in the soap or a product, and we won't find it. It's a convenience, but let's not settle down for that kind of petty happiness. True happiness really starts with this third stage of the caste system, which is the Kshatriya stage. And a Kshatriya is a person, he's a warrior by nature. He's a person who realizes my true happiness comes in seeing other people at rest, in serving other people, in seeing them happy, in seeing their higher needs met, in protecting their life, in protecting their higher needs and desires. And such a one is said to be a blessing for the place he stays, the family he is in, the country he is in. And as we can see, noble kings have always sought the company and the friendship of similar kings and noble men and knights, that it just, you might even say that by their very posture you can see that they are very open hearted. Their laughter is certainly much more deeper and resounding than a shopkeeper's, or a person who is so lazy he can't even look up off his bed. And such a man is said that it's springing from his nature. He has cultivated this nature of helping other people, and now it's helping him. And then of course, Swamiji says that is a very noble life, certainly. But you wonder when somebody, let's say your friend or you yourself, are met with death on the battlefield, and you wonder, I put out so much energy, I tried to tell people, warn people. A good nobleman always warns people against war, that there is no, it's futile to kill one another, however justified the cause. And he says, then he wonders, what is the true goal of life? And at that stage of our spiritual evolution, it starts dawning upon us that we are, first of all, not this body. So it's not good to affirm that we are not this body, this world is a dream, happiness is a dream, and bliss is a unattainable reality before this. It is very much a reality at all stages, but at this stage, the nature starts whispering to the soul, no, you can always be in bliss. You were made for bliss. Just go a little bit ahead. Explore the realities of joy. And that comes through meditation. That comes through prayer. So I want to speak about the Kshatriya consciousness and Brahmin consciousness, which is where the Kshatriyas end up in by their nobility. And you think of Mother Teresa, think of anybody, Mahatma Gandhi, think of Swami Kriyananda ji, and so many other saints and sages who have always, first of all, found this secret that in helping others, I am helped. Once somebody thanked Swami Vivekananda when he was nursing them during a famine, and he very calmly turned at that person who was about to leave his body because of his weakness. He said, brother, it is I who should be thanking you for giving me this opportunity to help you when you yourself could not help yourself. We are all children of the same God. Let's not question why this is happening. But because of the joy I feel in my heart, he says, I know this is the right thing that's happening for me and for you. And what a sweet way to meet death, to address somebody who is about to die of hunger. Likewise, Saint Francis, when he was a little boy, he found joy in his friends, and then they said that he started lagging behind in the parties and not being the loud voice. And then he said that, he started giving money to poor people. Then he started giving them clothes. He started looking out for people who were ill and started helping them, putting them bandages and such. And then one day he started weeping very deeply, and he said, I'm doing all this, but the farther I explore this subtle happiness, the more it almost slips out of my hand. Why? What else must I do? He prayed. And when we pray with that openness, childlike trust in the higher power, in God, He will tell us what to do, because then He told Saint Francis, you're not happy, Francis, because you don't have me. And then nothing changed in Saint Francis's life, and nothing will change in your life, and nothing changes in anybody's life, because from that day, every person you meet, every situation you meet, you will see that as God sent, and you will see a potential over there to strengthen yourself. Don't beat yourself if you're not able to be happy and, as Master said, even minded and cheerful in every circumstance. But ask yourself, what reason do you have not to be like that when there is something called God? When there is something called the higher power that has whispered in the ears of saints and told them this secret, and use this caste system, if you can call it a system, to see where you are at different times and take the next big step. Just, when you're lazy, it's much better, Swami used to say, to go out and watch a movie with friends. But when you're tired of the movie, I normally do, and we do this many times over here, we go to an orphanage, we just interact with people, just sit over there. Don't show pity or sympathy on anybody, but just see how people are dealing with life at different levels. As a doctor, I see this very often, and this helps me so much, because I realize the more I think of others, I forget myself. When I have forgotten myself, Yogananda said, you have rid yourself of the biggest, greatest delusion called egoism. Egoism now is not pride. Egoism is the simple crushing awareness of one's separate identity from everybody. So when you can think of other people to the degree you can think of them, you will forget yourself. Of course, once somebody told me you should be good, but don't be too good. And I said, oh, maybe I'm being foolish in being too good. So every time somebody asked me to do anything for them, or I had the opportunity to be good, I was asking myself, I hope I'm not being too good or foolish in another way. And I soon realized that I was having a questioning mind. I was doubting people. I was thinking they should not take advantage of me. And then I said, I was so much more happier and intelligent and wise in my discrimination before this counsel was thrown in my ears. And I said, I will never ever follow this. I will follow my heart. I will follow my conscience. I will follow my intelligence. I can only do so much. When we have done what is expected of us in our present day, let's say, we can have a peaceful sleep. And that I would suggest you try these two things. First of all, find a person who you like, and you like them, of course, for a certain quality, and then tell yourself, I will befriend this person to imbibe that quality from them. I will also befriend this person to share, because that person must be coming close to you for a reason, to impart in silent prayers a quality that God has bestowed on me. And see if this simple loving prayer and friendship is not making you more and more happy at times when you were not doing anything better than checking your emails or going on WhatsApp or traveling by bus. Swamiji also said, look at other people and look deeply at what they are wanting from life. And he says, then pray for them that they achieve that. He said when he saw people and who were even mundanely going through life, he would say, oh, what happiness they will achieve when they come to know about God. And the second thing is serve people. Like if you would like to be served in some way, think what would they want and give that to them. And tend to that need very consciously as if it was your own need. And soon you'll see that you will develop a heart to heart connection to the degree you can practice this on different people. And then you'll forget yourself. Once you've forgotten yourself, you have all reason to be happy. God bless you.